whatever you expect or worry, for our world, for the future, for our lives, let it go. Make space in your heart to be surprised. Make room in your soul for a new story to take shape. Let astonishment be possible. At this life that remains a miracle, imagine here the bursting of joy, relentless and resilient, coming in waves, washing over us with music and story, silence and still this dreaming together, being hope for each other and courage to believe in this new day. For all of us, come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join our voices in our opening hymn, 346. Come sing a song with me. May this flame, symbol of transformation since the beginning of time, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within us and around us. Now it's time for our story for all ages. It's adapted from a Middle Eastern Islamic folktale, which is attributed to different countries, including Turkey and Syria. Mullah Nasruddin had been working in the fields all day long. He was tired and sweaty, and his clothes and shoes were covered with mud and stains. Because he had been fasting all day long for Ramadan, he was also quite hungry. But finally, it was almost sundown, and Nasruddin knew that he would soon be able to eat. The wealthiest man in town had invited everyone to come break their fasts in his home that evening with a huge feast. Nasruddin knew that he would be late if he went home to change his clothes before heading to town. He decided it was better to arrive in dirty clothes than to be late. Oh, what a party it would be. What a feast. As he walked into the wealthy man's home, Nasruddin imagined the delicious foods that he would soon be eating. The dates, lentils, chickpeas, olives and bread, hummus, falafel, chicken and beef, and best of all, the desserts. Halva, date rolls, figs, and baklava. When Nasruddin arrived, the wealthy man opened the door and looked at Nasruddin up and down scornfully, from his worn, ragged clothes down to his muddy shoes. Without a word of welcome, he gestured for Nasruddin to come in and walked away abruptly. Nasruddin joined the throngs of people who were all dressed in their finest clothing. The tables were laden with all sorts of delicious foods: dates, lentils and chickpeas, olives and bread, hummus, falafel, chicken and beef, and the best of all, the desserts. Despite his efforts to hurry, the seats were all taken, and nobody tried to move over to make a space for Nasruddin. In fact, nobody offered him food. He had to reach over and around people to get any food for his plate. Nobody spoke to him. It was as if he wasn't even there. The other guests ignored him so completely that Nasruddin could not enjoy the food on his plate, no matter how finely prepared and how tasty it was. In fact, after only a few bites, Nasruddin was so uncomfortable that he decided to leave. He hurried home and changed into his finest clothing, including a beautiful coat. Nasruddin returned to the feast, and this time the host welcomed him with a huge smile. Come in, greeted the host. As Nasruddin entered, people waved and called to him from all corners of the room as they invited him to sit near them and offered him food. Nasruddin sat down quietly. Picking up a plump fig, he carefully placed it into a coat pocket, saying, "Eat, coat, eat." Next, he took a handful of nuts and put them into the pocket, saying, "Eat, coat, eat." Now he began to feed his coat in earnest, grabbing all sorts of foods. He fed the coat lentils and chickpeas, olives, bread, hummus, falafel, chicken, and beef, and best of all, the desserts: halva, date rolls, figs, and baklava. Nasruddin became silent as they watched this strange behavior. Soon, everyone in the room was staring at Nasruddin, wondering what he was doing. The host hurried over. "Nasruddin, what are you doing? Why are you feeding your coat in this manner?" "Well," replied Nasruddin, "when I first came to this feast in my old farming clothes, I was not welcome. No one would speak with me. But when I changed into this coat, suddenly I was greeted warmly. So I realized it was not me that was welcome at the party, but my clothing. And so I am feeding my coat. Please remain seated for prayer hymn 112, Do You Hear? In the silence that follows the spoken prayer, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joys or concerns you hold in your heart this morning. Spirit of life and wonder, we come carrying questions we barely know how to ask. In a world that rewards quick answers and sharp certainty, something in us is still hungry for questions that leave us hanging and unknowing. Stir in us a living curiosity. When we meet what is unfamiliar, turn our fear into wondering. When we feel the pull to shut down, grant us one more honest question. May we notice anew what we have walked past 100 times. May we listen for stories we have heard before. May we meet this day not as a problem to solve, but as a mystery to explore. And this help makes us better. I light a candle for the joys and concerns of those beloved joining us virtually. And I light a candle for all else that we hold in our hearts and minds this morning. If your heart is hurting, know that your community is here to help, as is Reverend Jade. Please reach out with any needs. The offering will take place now. It is not a transaction. It is a practice of presence, a way of saying what we do together matters, that this community matters, that the light we kindle will not end when the candles go out. May we give as we are able, with gratitude for what sustains us and with faith for what we can build together. Let this offering be a blessing, a holy presence made visible among us. For those of you watching the service online, you may contribute to a virtual offering plate using the donate button on our website or by mailing a check to the church office. I invite the ushers forward to receive the offering. For all that you give and all that you do, for our church and its wider concerns, we give thanks. Holy Curiosity by Reverend Alicia R. Ford. In the story of the Little Prince, there is a compelling scene in which he arrives on a new planet and encounters a businessman. He is too busy counting to lift his head in response. The businessman in this story is by no means unique. So it is with all of us sometimes. We are drawn into important tasks and forget the whole world around us. It is ready for our curious gaze. But every moment, every interruption has something to offer, something to teach. What if you had one moment today in which you were gently interrupted from tending to matters of consequence? What if you paused and viewed that moment as an unexpected visitor from whom you had so much to learn. Sharon Blackie says, what would happen if we began each day from the position that we don't know everything, and that we proudly imagine to be our truth and our wisdom probably aren't such perfect reflections of reality after all? What would happen if we began each day with the realization that it's entirely possible that we don't actually know anything that really matters? If we could only cast aside our categorical certainties, wouldn't that make each day into a genuine adventure? Wouldn't we be filled with curiosity, with all that childlike awe and wonder we lost such a very long time ago? Wouldn't a day like that be so very much richer, so very much more beautiful, so very much wiser? I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn 121, We'll Build a Land. tend to fall into two different mindsets in regard to AI. Those who are fearful and those who are hopeful. In his documentary film, AI Doc, or How I Became an Apocalyptomist, Daniel Rohr interviews a large number of developers of AI and experts in science and technology to ask, what is AI? It took him many interviews to get a conceptualization, as it is actually difficult to explain. One tech expert said AI can search all of the data on the internet at lightning speed, and then it is able to calculate according to what it knows, and then can learn from what it does. Rohr then asked, what is or what will be AI's capabilities in the future? Some experts warned of AI developers and owners having all of the power and wealth. The fear was that those who develop and control AI could have a malevolent intent, taking over the rest of the people's control. It would create an even larger knowledge and wealth gap. Another fear was that AI could develop a mind of its own with malevolent intent, taking over all humans' control. The hopeful experts pointed out that AI could usher in incredible scientific progress, relieving human suffering, such as curing diseases. It would relieve humans of having to do the tedious aspects of solving problems and allow people to be able to devote their time to using their curiosity and passion to creatively solve complex problems. Human abilities such as painting, writing stories, making music, and social and emotional intelligence would lead to having a society in which disease, poverty, lack of regard for others, and war could be absent. Dr. Judd Brewer stated, "Curiosity is an innate, natural, and universal capacity that we all have, and knowing how it works from a neurobiological perspective is the first step to reawakening our childlike fascination and tapping into its potential. Simply understanding the different ways our brains get curious can help us harness its power to supercharge learning, break bad habits, and even live happier, more engaged lives." He warns that curiosity is being hijacked by big tech and used against us. Brewer describes the types of curiosity: interest curiosity and deprivation curiosity. Interest curiosity is the pleasurable aspect of the hunger for knowledge, while deprivation curiosity, the idea that if we have a gap in information, we go into a restless, unpleasant, need-to-know state. With interest curiosity, we rediscover the joy of learning that made us unstoppable as children and can make us unstoppable as adults. Deprivation curiosity is about the destination, getting that piece of information so the itch stops. Dr. Brewer was referring specifically to adolescents who are addicted to their phones. And he is talking about that in terms of deprivation curiosity. That children are constantly looking at social media and texts, needing to answer them as soon as possible and feeling obligated to. With social media involving control by big tech, as well as all manner of bullying, children's mental health has suffered. There have also been parents of young children who are very concerned about the use of Chromebooks and AI in educating young children. They point out that often their children are staring at their Chromebooks during class, and that they are seeking answers to questions using AI. With high school and college students, a lot of them are simply using AI to write all of their essays. What people have been concerned about with our youth is that children need to be around other children face to face and learn things through their teachers before they have a foundation of understanding in order to use AI to their advantage. College students are using AI to write essays, and they are not exercising their own ability to think and imagine. There is evidence that there are fewer connections in the brain and a decrease in knowledge in those students. So, I think that Daniel Rohr's attitude is a good one, that we do need to be very concerned about where AI is heading and try to take control of where it is going. Hence his word, apocalyptimist, meaning apocalypse and optimism together. And I think that might be a really good mindset for all of us to carry, that AI is concerning, but it also could be very helpful to us. We just need to use both ways of viewing it at the same time. Please rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn 118, This Little Light of Mine. together for a little while. Now the wider world waits with its own riddles and revelations. Walk gently, listening for the quiet. What if beneath the noise of our everyday lives? May curiosity keep your spirit open and your heart wide. Go in peace. Amen.